Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have a variety of questions, but I'm trying to filter through. I feel like I need to, there's obviously other technical questions that can be addressed later, but I think I need to ask a rhetorical question for the sake of all victims, and specifically sexual assault, human trafficking victims. I'm all about tribes taking responsibility, tribal sovereignty, and what I've heard, but part of the testimony that I just heard made it feel like the victim experience of a Native woman is exclusive in feeling the lack of justice, the difficulty in getting a protective order, not wanting to come forward because the feeling that law enforcement will not act, seeing what friends have gone through, and the trauma that incurs, the shame in the community, not being able to move forward, carrying that burden throughout your life. And I wonder why what I hear in this committee is that Alaska Native women feel that it's exclusive to your experience, because it sounds exactly what I have heard of white women in my community. It's the same thing. But what I continue to hear in this committee over and over again is if you're the only one. And I know that's not your heart, but I ask that when you come and present, that you remember that you have white sisters who are going through the same thing, and they don't feel they have justice either. It's all in presentation, but and I'm not saying that there's clearly Alaska Native women have. There are innumerable white women who have the same internal experience of the trauma that Native women have expressed. The trauma is the same because of what has happened to them as an individual. Seeking justice is such an incredible struggle. And I to be, because I want to seek justice for everyone, no matter what. And I know those are uncomfortable words. So I want to end it with a positive, and thanking you, all of you who have come and participated and being available, because just this morning I fielded a phone call of someone who had reached out, who was in the middle of a trafficking situation and had been turned away by agencies who could not help her. And the individual told me she sounds like a Native woman. And I said, well, I have some resources for you. And so I gave the number for the Alaska Native Resource Center, because right now the state of Alaska has no resources for her, but you potentially do. And I want to give recognition that you have been doing the work. Because of your federal partnership, you've made a way to help a woman where the state of Alaska has not yet. And I say yet because I'm working on that, because I don't want there to be a gap for anyone. I know there's an incredible gap for Alaska Native women, and I'm trying to meet that. But I'd like us to remember to be a little bit more inclusive when we're talking about the experience of trauma and seeking justice and healing, because it is something that so many women, regardless of color, are experiencing the same thing. And we have failed. We have failed to protect the innocent and the vulnerable in the state, and I'm hoping to change that. So thank you for being here and sharing your experiences.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I just wanted to first thank the speakers today. I also
am actually kind of having a cold, but I had some allergies crop up with some of the information that was shared today. And I just want to say, with all due respect to my colleague from Homer, I take some exception to the idea of this presentation excluding white women. As a white woman from urban Alaska, I can't say how much it hurts my heart to hear about the disparity. And while the suffering is the same for victims, the causes of that violence are not the same. And the response to that violence is not the same. And the justice for the victims is not the same. And until it's the same, we have got a lot of work to do. I've really appreciated the week we've spent on human trafficking last week, focusing on the problem across Alaska. And I really am appreciative that that was an effort that my colleague undertook. And I'm really appreciative this week that we've had an opportunity in this committee and in this building to focus on the disproportionate impacts of sexual assault and domestic violence for Alaska Native women, for women living in rural Alaska, for women living in urban Alaska on the road system. But particularly, I just want to say, as an ally to the individuals who have spoken today, that the suffering may be the same, but the problem is not the same. And it's really important that we recognize that before we go into how do we fix it. And so I hear what my colleague is saying, but I also just want to say, as a white woman, that I appreciate very much the presenters today. And I appreciate very much drawing attention to the disproportionate impacts. And I look forward to having a lot of continuing conversation about tribal sovereignty. Really encouraged to hear about the progress that's been made, but also the fact that it was 1991 before we began the process of tribal recognition, and it was 2022 before that actually took place in Alaska, I think is a huge testament to why we're at where we're at right now and how far we still have to go. So thank you to the chair for hosting this meeting today.
Thank you.